Let's see if someone of you can
Podem fazer em
participate
português.
here.
No questions.
No questions?
All of life's questions have already been answered.
No, that's why I called this a masterclass. You have to go on talking. You know?
I'll talk as much as they want. I can't believe they're still here. It's like, it's what time is it? It's like these people are so great.
They love you, man.
They're too tired to ask questions. They'll say that. What they're really thinking about is their pillow.
Another thing, you have Joaquin Phoenix, mostly of your films.
Yeah, like 80 movies in a row with Joaquin.
Yeah. And could you imagine make this film without him?
No, I wrote it for him. I wrote it for Marion Cotillard. I would never have made it if they didn't want to do it. It's a terrible, I mean, he kind of hated me for it because he's playing a wretched person. And he's basically lying for the whole movie until the last 3 minutes. Everything he does is a manipulation, a lie, and I think he was pretty miserable on the shoot. And it's funny because I didn't even hear this much stuff, but he would turn his back, like let's say in the shot, he would turn his back to the camera, and he would mutter, "I hate this guy. I hate myself. I'm the worst person in the world." And he would apologize to Marion every morning. "I'm really sorry what I'm going to do to you today. I'm sorry." But he's a brilliant actor, and I love the way that he's able to convey inner turmoil and anguish, because I think that's important for drama. It's a very important dramatic, I mean, it's not to be, and then you walk off the stage, right? No. To be or not to be. It's all about the person at war with himself. And Montgomery Clift had that, I feel like, that kind of like, I'm tortured. And that's what those great 50s are. And Joaquin reminds me of that. And I love what he does at the end of this film, because in a way he's basically saying, I hate myself very much. And, I empathize with that, so I love him as an actor. And I couldn't conceive it without him or without her. Because I always thought she was like, Falconetti or something, like a great silent film actor, where you saw it all in her eyes and everything. So I wouldn't have made it if they didn't want to do it.
And if that's something that you will go on writing for him, or you think that one day something will happen? Because if you do that, you will write as well for characters older and older and older.
Yeah. I'm not sure the answer to that. I think he is going to determine that. I think he's sick of me. We have a very good relationship now, although it started out pretty terrible. I mean, terribly. My wife can tell you this, that we argued constantly on the first 2 movies. It was pretty much every day was a fight. And then I remember the first day of shooting on Two Lovers. We had a terrible argument, and I don't even remember about what, but it was probably something really inane and small. A 4-hour phone call followed about how he was going to quit the movie and that I was an asshole, and he never wanted to work with me again, and how did he get himself involved yet again. And after that, I sort of said, so then quit. And then we were great on that movie. We were the best of friends. And this one, too, went very smoothly, and I think that's a sign that it's going to end, because there's no more arguing, I'm probably lying completely. I'll probably make my next movie with him, but I think he's pretty sick of me. I mean, he kind of said as much to me in Rome. I met with him, we had lunch, and at the end I was talking to him. He said, "Yeah, aren't you sick of me?" Which really means, I'm sick of you. I said, okay.
I remember once I interviewed for Two Lovers, and there's a moment in the film that we can hear a fado, a Portuguese tune, and I can't remember why you put that song, Portuguese song. There's a Portuguese song on two lovers while they are at the bar, you know, when Joaquin is. You can't remember, and I can remember.
When they're at, this is clearly not a film that I directed.
Two lovers.
When they're at the bar, what's happening?
At the balcony, the restaurant. It's a restaurant.
Balcony. I'm really confused.
Restaurant.
At a restaurant, it's playing Henry Mancini, isn't it?
There's a Portuguese tune.
Oh no, you're talking about Amalia Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not a balcony. It really it's a Russian restaurant.
It's a Russian. In the beach.
Okay,
The
you say balcony bar, I get thrown. You're quite right. That's just because I want. You know what it was? That's a total stretch. Makes absolutely no sense. It would never be played in that space.
Yeah, that's why I asked.
Well, here's why. Because that's a fado, right? That fantastic tradition, and that's stolen from the. Well, here's what happened. The opening. You ever see this movie Rocco and His Brothers, Visconti?
Of course.
Okay. So the movie opens, and you hear this guitar playing, and this guy going, very melancholy song. And I've always tried to like put something like that in a movie. So I was playing it for a musicologist, and he said, "Oh yeah, it sounds sort of like a fado." I was like, "What fado? Yeah, Amalia Rodriguez." I said, "Amalia Rodriguez, yeah, but I don't really know who that is." He said, "Well, listen to all this," and he gave me like 6 CDs. This was many years ago now, and it makes no sense, but mood-wise, it made total sense. So I just thought, I want it to feel like a 1960 Italian movie, even though it's Portuguese, so it makes no sense. Put it in there. By the way, you're the first person to ever ask me about that.
I was intrigued.
You were intrigued. All right. I didn't get it. So I got away with it almost. I got one guy 6 years later in Portugal who asked me about it. I'm doing okay. What's that? No, I know. I'm being silly. I know. The way I excused it was I said, well, they'd just be playing famous music or something. I don't know. I tried to.
Ela perguntou sobre a questão da música no seu cinema e sobretudo no Little Odessa, viver e morrer em Little Odessa.
That movie was a very weird thing to score because what happened was I had found that's a very strange musical tradition because it's basically Russian music written in the tradition of Orthodox Christian choral music, but it was state-sponsored, so it's sort of removing the religion from it. It's a composer. There's two main composers for that movie. A guy named Boris Kravchenko, who did the sort of opening piece for it, that I had found totally at random trying to find music for the movie, and then a guy named Georgy Sviridov, who wrote this sort of secular choral music, which is a Stalin-era tradition, totally absurd. It would, it's like removing the religion from a type of religious music. And that was just me trying to be very pretentious and add an extra layer of meaning on the film, really struggling with that. I haven't seen that movie in a long time. They played it in New York at Lincoln Center 2 months ago, and they said, "Would you like to see it?" I said, "No." They said, "So come at 11:30, it's playing." I stayed maybe 2 minutes I lasted. It was horrifying, I heard the music. I wanted to run from the room. So I'm glad you still like it. I felt it was incredibly heavy-handed this time around, which is perfect for a tragedy. Okay, I like the way you think.
Esperem só pelo mim.
Okay. Vou falar em português, depois peço à mesa que faça a tradução. Portanto, uma das questões é, uma vez que o papel foi escrito especificamente para a Marion Cotillard, se bem percebi, quais foram as principais razões e quais foram os papéis que a atriz fez anteriormente que mais o impressionaram para levar a essa escolha. E a segunda questão, não sei se...
Uma de cada vez.
Okay.
So he asked you why Marion Cotillard?
And what are the films you have seen from her that make it show?
I hadn't seen anything with her in it. Nothing. I had met her boyfriend for lunch, and we bonded when a rat ran across the floor.
Guillaume
Canet.
Canet.
Guillaume Canet. I didn't know who he was either, honestly. The publicist said, this guy wants to have lunch with you, and he made tell no one. And I was like, I don't know what that is. Because what happens is
Não
when you
digas
have...
a ninguém.
Yeah, when we have 32 kids, which is what we have, 3, you stop going to movies for the period in which they're born, you know? And so I hadn't seen anything that she was in, anything that he had done, and my wife and I were in Paris, we met both of them sort of together, and I got into some argument about an actor with Marion, and we were at a very nice fish restaurant. And I said, oh, this actor's overrated. She said, no, you're wrong. He's one of the greatest actors in the world. I said, yeah, no, you're wrong. He's overrated. And she picked a piece of bread, she threw it at me. And I said, oh, I like her. But I thought she had a great face. I thought she was beautiful, but not sentimental, you know, not cute, you know. And something struck me that she was like, you know, like I said, Falconetti, but like one of those silent film actors, Lillian Gish, or, you know, one of those people that said a lot with no words. And I knew when she threw the bread at me, it's a funny story, but it's also, there's a kind of a will underneath that, you know, a stubbornness or something. And so I thought, well, she would be good to work with, I have a feeling. Because actors, it's interesting, acting is about sensitivity as a form of intelligence, not book smarts, by the way. Many actors I know who are great actors are complete idiots. They don't know anything. One actor I worked with, I said, you know, you did this thing, it's like Danny Kaye. Who's Danny Kaye? I'm like, have you ever left your house? So you know that actors don't really know anything. I mean, I'm being silly, of course. Not knowing who Danny Kaye doesn't mean anything, really. But what I'm saying is that the good actors are really intelligent. And I sensed that from her. So the truth is I hadn't seen anything. And then after I wrote the script for her and she agreed to do it and we're about to start shooting, I saw this Edith Piaf movie she was in and I realized that it was a terrible mistake to start watching that. So I turned it off after about 20 minutes, you know?
Why?
You know, which is not what I was after. I mean, it's brilliantly committed what she's doing, but that's not what I wanted, you know? That was doing like a circus act or something. So I thought, well, this is a mistake. And then I started to panic, and I called my friend and talked to my wife about it. You know, can't you just tell her to do less? I say, okay. So that's the truth. I hadn't seen anything from her, and then, but I hadn't seen anything that Joaquin Phoenix had done when I started working with him. That was based on the fact that I had sent the script to a movie called The Yards, which he wound up being in. I had sent that script to Liv Tyler for the part that wound up being played by Charlize Theron. And Liv apparently never even read it, but that it was in a pile next to her bed, and Joaquin was dating her at the time. He picked up the script and said, the title of this is really interesting, and then he asked to meet me. I said, who? They said, Joaquin Phoenix, brother of River. So I met the guy, and I was like, oh, he's kind of interesting. He's an interesting guy, you know? So I had never seen anything he was in, which is really, it's going to really hurt me one of these days. I'm going to cast someone I don't know, and then the guy's going to show up, or a woman's going to show up and be totally inept, and I'm going to be in real trouble. Right now, so far I've been lucky. You had 400 more questions, I think. What was it?
Só a última questão, que é, uma vez que já começou a trabalhar com o Joaquin Phoenix há 10, 12 anos atrás, fazer assim uma pequena reflexão, digamos assim, ao como é que vê a carreira dele passado estes 12 anos e a do próprio James Gray, digamos assim. Se não for muito complicado de traduzir esta.
How do you see
Your career and Joaquin Phoenix career at this point? Career.
After 12 years.
After so much years after the first movie that you made together.
Yeah, no, I understand the question. I'm just trying to think of a decent answer.
You made some mistakes except my films, something like that.
I feel like whenever Joaquin doesn't work with me, he's incredibly successful. Like, he didn't do Walk the Line with me, Although I did introduce him to Johnny Cash, which was a very strange dinner, by the way. And he was, you know, nominated for an Oscar and all that, big hit. And then he went off and did a movie with me. And then after that, he did, I don't know, he's done like, then every time he doesn't work with me, it's like he's nominated for Oscars, you know. I remember saying to him, Gladiator, why do you want to do that? Gladiator, you're going to play that was made by Anthony Mann. It was really, he's going to remake an Anthony Mann. Well, Anthony Mann, every shot's incredible. How's he going to match that? What are you talking about? Anthony who? Who's Anthony Mann? And he went off and did that, nominated for Oscars, $400 billion. So I just think he's doing great when he doesn't work with me. When he does, he's in trouble. I don't know. I mean, I think he's done brilliantly well sticking to his guns. You know, it's interesting because I just was in Rome on the jury watching Spike Jonze's new movie with him in it. I kind of had to recuse myself from the discussion in the jury about his performance because I can't see his acting anymore. I can't, like The Master. People say, what do you think of that? And I don't have an answer because I see Joaquin and I'm thinking, I see the machinery, which is not saying he's bad, I'm quite the opposite, he's brilliant, but I'm saying I know what he's doing. And those movies are now ruined for me. I literally can't judge them. So I don't really have an answer for you at all, but it was entertaining, wasn't it?
How did you make the Darius Conji? Did you want it?
Darius and I lost it for sure now. Okay, see, it's not in my head. It's not in my head. Hello? See, it's not in my head, is it? I had done a television commercial with Darius, which is the single worst thing ever committed to film. Maybe digital has introduced something worse, but this was the worst thing anyone has ever done ever, and I did it with Darius. Darius had wanted to work with me apparently, and it must be true because I made this terrible commercial, which I tried to do my best on. It was shot in an airport in Uruguay. So you know that if a person is willing to fly to Uruguay from Paris for a week to work with you in the middle of Christmas vacation, it means either he's mentally ill or he's desperate to work with you. In this case, it of course meant both. So I met him on this commercial and I loved him. He's incredibly, Darius Conji, by the way, is the cinematographer of this movie. What?
He's with me in Portugal.
What do you mean? This is why he knows you.
Yeah.
I saw him in Rome. I said, oh, I'm going to Portugal. He goes, oh, yeah, Paolo, yeah. Now I understand. Well, he really has tremendous sensitivity, and I love how pretentious he is, because I'm pretentious too, and we can both be pretentious together.